Inflation have hit Nigeria for a while now, and it seems there is no hope in sight for Nigerians, especially looking at the fact that inflation rate as of August 2022 is 20.52%. Now, this has to say a lot about the economy of Nigeria. Well, you're welcome to National Talk on ECWA Television International, where we'll look at what is happening in the nation currently. I'm Stella Elisha Dasham, and Lois Strike is on standby to give us the news, and when she's done, we'll come back to dig deeper into the topic of discussion. Good evening, Lois.
Good evening, Stella.
How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm great, thank you, dear.
All right. Straight into the news. On tonight's news, hike in cost distribution chain disrupts increased inflation. SANS opposes as AGF proceeds to appoint new Supreme Court justices. Obi leads Tinubu, Atiku, Kwankwaso in 2023 poll. Public servants increased 2021-2022 budgets with 400 billion naira duplicated projects, says ICPC, and Nigeria missing out on global boom. Here are the details. At 20.52%, indicating the maximum rate since September 2005 and still growing, Nigeria's inflation rate may spiral about 50% if usual socio-economic challenges and other causes are not tackled within the shortest period, experts have cautioned. While inflation fears are not strange to Nigeria, the circumstances driving the growth are peculiar, particularly in the form of poor earnings from natural resources as a result of theft, sabotage, insecurity and banditry which have affected local production, foreign exchange concerns, massive expenditure and debt burden amongst other challenges. The new inflation rate raises concerns for Nigeria, placing pressure on the highest bank to add interest rates in desperate efforts to bridle in rising prices. Now, Moody's new report says African banks will react to the increase in inflation and related higher savings rates with an upward repricing of loans. The response, the report expects, will weaken borrowers' ability to pay back current loans and such banks' provisioning for loan loss. It, however, notes that most of the banks took proactive provisions following the outbreak of the pandemic, which will limit the extra provisioning required as defaults rise. Specifically in Nigeria, the report notes that huge volumes of the loans are short-term, hence they will be repriced higher. This, it adds, could be forced by already higher lending rates and rigid competition. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics (NBCS) yesterday revealed that Nigeria's inflation figure rose from 19.64% recorded in July to 20.52%. The Consumer Price Index (CPI) report by the NBS showed that Nigeria's CPI rose by 1.77% on a month-on-month basis compared to the 1.82% increase recorded in the previous month. The report added that food inflation rose to 23.12% in August 2022 on a year-on-year basis, representing a 2.82% increase when equated to 20.30% in August 2021. This increase was stoked by a rise in prices of bread and cereals, food products like potatoes, yam and other tubers, fish, meat, oil and fat, the report said. Ahead of the 2023 polls, Abubakar Malami, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, yesterday said the federal government will work together with the judiciary to confirm appointment of new justices into the Supreme Court bench. Malami, who spoke at a valedictory court session held in honor of a retired justice of the highest court, Justice Abdu Aboki, said the appointment will be done in hope of anticipated rise in number of cases that will arise from the general elections. Noting that the previous 5 months experienced a stable decrease in the number of justices of the Supreme Court, with the successful exits of my Lord Honorable Justice Mary Ego Peter Odeli, Honorable Justice Dr. Ibrahim Tonko Muhammad, and now the distinguished Honorable Justice Abdul Aboki, the Apex Court has almost returned to its pre-2020 numerical strength with just 13 justices as against the required 21 under the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We will work with the judiciary and to ensure that these vacancies are filled as soon as practicable in anticipation of expected surge in the number of cases as we approach an election year, Malami stated. However, Malami's position brought the wrath of the body of senior advocates of Nigeria, BOSAN, which sought an instant assessment of the appointment process it described as unsatisfactory in the extreme. BOSAN, in its speech read by Chief Okakuro Okpoko-san, said it was concerned that the appointment process appears to have been designed and operated to exclude good and competent lawyers in the legal profession from being appointed as justices of our appellate courts. It said, and I quote, "There are two aspects of this restrictive policy by the appointing authorities. The first is the appointing authority seems to have established a strategy that the vacancies created by exits of justices of Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal are to be filled by picking a candidate from the state of the vacating justice only, notwithstanding the availability of known better candidates readily at hand from other states or local government areas in case of judges at trial courts. The consequence of this policy is that by it, our nation, our citizens, foreign and local businessmen, women who use and or are expected to resort to the courts of law for resolution of their problems in Nigeria are denied the opportunity of having their cases considered and decided by appellate courts manned by the best legal minds the nation can produce at any time. This is very sad reflection on our nation and the nation's judiciary. The Sons urged the National Judicial Council, NJC, to consider the idea of appointing appellate justices directly from the bar as it was done in other countries. BOSAN does not see any reasonable and arguable opposition against the straight appointment of this class of candidates available for appointment in the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. Now, the campaign councils of three leading presidential candidates in the 2023 general election have published a new opinion poll that puts the candidate of the Labour Party LP, Peter Obi, ahead of them. On Thursday, in the results of the poll conducted and released by ANAP Foundation, Obi came first with Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress APC, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party PDP sharing second position, and Rabiu Kwankwaso of the New Nigeria People's Party NNPP came to a distant fourth position in the poll. The LP candidate got 21% in the percentage rating, while the APC and PDP candidates garnered only 13% each from the poll said to have been conducted across the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. Researchers, however, did not reveal the methodology and the number of people that participated in the poll. The spokespersons of the campaign councils of the NNPP, PDP and APC took turns to tell the outcome of the poll, saying it is laughable, report says. The spokesperson of the NNPP Presidential Campaign Council, Abdulmumin Jubril, said the program gave credibility to the poll, which should have been disregarded. Against the projection of the poll that Kwankwaso, a former two-term governor of Kano State, lost the North, Jubril said his principal has the region on lockdown and will garner the rest of the needed votes from other parts of the country to win the February presidential election. Let me say this, Noi poll clearly projected that Jonathan will win the 2015 election, but he lost, which included many other works has been done by them. There is no work that they have done where you can say that the projections are right or anything. In a matter of 3 to 4 months, the facts will emerge, he argued. Weighing the chances of both Tinubu and Atiku against Kwankwaso, Jubril described the APC presidential candidate as a good person in a bad party called APC, adding that Obi and supporters are contentious but admitted to the chance of Atiku picking a fair number of votes across the country in the election. Yesterday, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, revealed that the 2021 budget equating 13.59 trillion naira was increased by civil servants in the various federal ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, with duplicated projects worth 300 billion naira. Additionally, the anti-graft agency also released that projects duplicated with 100 billion naira were also included into the 17.12 trillion naira 2022 budget by some MDAs. The ICPC disclosed more whooping 49.9 billion naira was traced as salaries paid to ghost workers between January and June this year. The chairman of the anti-corruption agency, Professor Bolaji Owasanaye made the disclosures during an interface with the Senate Committee on Finance. The ICPC boss said the 300 billion naira duplicated projects in the 2021 budget and the 100 billion naira in the 2022 budget were tracked using thorough scrutinization carried out on the approved projects for the various MDAs. He advised appropriate committee of the National Assembly to be on the lookout for such project duplication in the proposed 19.76 trillion naira 2023 budget. Obviously, through its chairman, Senator Solomon Adiola, APC Lagos West said the operational cost of the agency will be added from its present 1.8 billion naira, saying this committee is impressed by proactive ways your commission is adopting in the fight against corruption. Your submissions clearly show that all hope is not lost for our dear country as far as fighting corruption is concerned. Finally, Nigeria has continued to waste the sporadic chance offered by the global surge in oil prices to boost its economy. Like other oil-producing countries, London-based The Economist has stated, while a rise in oil prices could do outstanding things, like in Saudi Arabia, where an innovative city was prearranged to grow from the desert, or Angola, where its currency has abruptly become one of the strongest performers against the dollar. It noted that in Nigeria, the reverse was the case. Yesterday, the report came just as the leadership of the Senate asked heads of military and security agencies in the country to begin indicting suspected members of the public who are involved in oil theft. The upper chamber of the National Assembly also tasked the judiciary to permit quicker hearing to matters on oil theft and other forms of economic sabotage. This was just as Nigerian lawyer and human rights activist Mr. Femi Falana revealed that he has evidence to confirm that people in government were involved in crude oil theft and smuggling of petroleum products in the country. Price controls remain the main reason the boom was ruining the public purse, noting that elsewhere, as the price of crude increases, drivers pay more at the pump. It was not so in Nigeria, according to the news outlet. The report added that in January, President Muhammadu Buhari defaulted on his newest promise to reform the system, leaving the government to pay for the vast gap between Nigeria's low fixed price and the global one. With the subsidy covered by the state-owned Nigerian National Petroleum Company, the paper stated that the prognosis is grim. Remembering that in June, the World Bank expected that the government will spend 5.4 trillion naira or $12.6 billion on fuel subsidies this year, over 3 times it spent last year. Reports said this is more than the surge in revenue the government will get from higher crude oil prices. Another reason Nigeria's public finances benefit so little from high oil prices, its reason was the production itself has slumped to 1.13 million barrels per day, the lowest over 50 years, which is partially while the oil industry has also been a drag on headline economic growth. Nevertheless, estimates differ. It quoted the oil industry's regulator, revealing that thieves are stealing 108,000 barrels a day, about 7% of production. This, it said, cost the government $1 billion in the first quarter of this year alone. One way to steal the commodity, according to report, was to overload legitimate shipments with more oil than is acknowledged. Another, the report mentioned, was to break into pipelines and siphon oil off, then cook it up in bush refineries before selling. Large quantity of stolen crude goes straight into the international market, it noted, adding that small boats sailing along the Delta's canals filling up from illegally tapped pipelines. Sele, this is really outrageous.
Of course, Lois, because, it's really, it baffled me. Looking at the fact that Nigeria is among when we talk about nations that produce oil, Nigeria can actually proudly boast, hit their chest and say, yes, we are supposed to be. Now, mark that word, supposed. But we are missing out on that. Why? Because as a result of our recklessness, as a result of unaccountability, as a result of us not being responsible, looking at the fact that Nigeria is missing out on this oil boom, it shocked my heart that countries like Angola right now can actually, boast and say that they are among the top performers in the nation right now, because even their currency is going higher than the dollar presently. Why? Because they're able to put some measures in place. But then let's take a look at our own side here in Nigeria. We're not here to cascade, but we're trying to bring out facts of what is happening. This issue of Nigerian medicine have been lingering for quite a number of time. It's not just starting this year, Lois. It's not just starting last year. It has been lingering for quite a number of time. And I believe we have refused to do something, because I use the term refuse because we know what we are supposed to do, but we neglected those steps that we are supposed to take. We saw the fact that we have lost over $700 million as a result of oil theft. We saw the fact that also taking to look at there's still a back and forth concerning the Tambolo issue, concerning who was giving the contract during the Jonathan's time, and if really the contract is still going on. That is another issue that is currently going on that is yet to be addressed. We had the back and forth coming from the NNPCL and the custom concerning how much we produce and how much is being actually given us as a fact. They told us 60 liters per, 60 million liters per day, but then that is what NNPCL is saying. But then custom is saying that is more than that. We're having about 98. The issue went to court, Lois. What was the end result of that? That the court said, yeah, this is what we're producing. But then we'll not forget the fact that already facts are there that there are some, ships that do leave the shores of Nigeria. Begin to ask questions. Where's the custom? Where's the Navy? What are we doing about that? No wonder we're saying that security agencies that were being employed to be able to protect this, the oil and all that, are working together with them. But we need facts and figures, and I believe that we have them, because you can't tell me that commoners will be able to export oil out of the shores of Nigeria without any public high figure being involved in this. So I think it's high time for us to take accountability if we really want to be among those nations. I mean, take a look at countries like the Eastern Asian countries that they can rub their shoulders, a country that is in desert, for Christ's sake. And yet we have countries like ours here in Nigeria that we have all that it takes, but then we have refused. We can see the side effect of the oil theft affecting the Niger Delta people, their land, their water, and presently now is amnesty being paid to them. Some of them, their scholarship have been stopped for a very long time. But then our center is, why have we missed out on all this? What are we going to do? That is the question right now, Lois.
What are we going to do? That is the question, Sele. The thing is, it's like I said, it's really alarming, because when you look at all these facts and figures that has been placed out by experts, you wonder what is actually happening. Like the Sun said, that's Femi Falana. He said he can reveal the names and the people that are in charge of all these things. Like, is revealing even the issue? I don't think it's really the issue there, because you can reveal the people and at the end of the day nothing is being done. So we need some things to be done, even if the people their names are being revealed, and then the court case or whatever it is, that the process that is going to be used to make this thing, will it stop at the end of the day? At the end of the day, we will stop having the issue of oil theft, because based on what he said there were softwares that were bought like 7 years ago that were supposed to track some of these tankers that bring oil, because there is no how oil will be transported except for tankers. And if these tankers are not being tracked to know where they are going to, or how much liters of oil they have taken to where they are supposed to take it to, we will keep having issues of oil theft here and there. And so the issues are becoming higher every day, and we have seen how it's affecting the prices of commodity and other food prices in the country. We've seen the issue of inflation that has risen over time, and every day we look at it, they talk about fuel subsidy is being removed and all of that. At the end of the day, we see that the masses are at the receiving end of this whole issue that is going on. So things need to be put in place. Even as the people are being revealed, it's something being done. If something will be done for it to stop, then they should be revealed. But if the names are going to be revealed at the end of the day, we'll still have the issue of oil theft. I don't see the need.
You raised a very vital point, and I think we have to dwell on that. That is the issue of the inflation presently that is eating us in the country. I mean, there have been figures and facts that have been, displayed, where we had from yesterday, where we see that Nigeria inflation rate is now 20.52%. In July, we had it about 17.64%. Presently, right now, it's about 20.52%. And that is quite a huge amount of money. If you're going to look at that, like from the year on year, from 17.01% in August of last year, and presently, we're having it on month from the gap between 1.82% in July 2022. I remember I said in July it was about 17. Right now it's about 20. That's we're having about 1.77 to 1.77%. And this is a statistic coming from the National Bureau of Statistics, giving us some of the headline and what has led to that. And there are some figures that have been given, or some of the will I say the fact or reason why we're having inflation. We're not going to forget the fact that insecurity seems like it has come to stay with us, which is one of the number one reason why we're having inflation. States, especially the northern states that produce most of this food we consume, talk about the yam which you mentioned, we have the vegetables, we have lots of goods that are being produced from the northern part. But if you look at it, the northern part are mostly the the state that have been affected by insecurity. The farmers are no longer free to go to their farms, and even if you can go to your farm, we're having the issue of the fuel, which is still as a result of that. Beginning of this year, we had that adulterated fuel. And right now, how much will I say most of this, will I say buses and all the trucks that we're having, they have to transport the goods from the farm down to the market site. How much would they charge you? Back was then, maybe you could just pay 1,000 naira for maybe a bus to take some of your goods from the farm to town. But right now, you're going to pay nothing less than 4,000 naira, 5,000 naira. And definitely, if they are going to pay the driver such an amount of money, definitely they will increase that on the food prices and services that you are going to request of them. Back then, you could get a rubber of tomatoes maybe at the price of 500 naira. But presently, reverse is the case. If you're not ready to give 1,000 naira or even 5,000 naira, then forget about it. You go to the market with just 10,000 naira loss and you come back with just a polythene bag. That is why, as a result of the inflation prices. And it's still linked down to the oil issue, because if you do not have what you need, like right now we're talking about power supply. Lots of small and medium scale businesses depend on that. And if they don't have power, definitely they have to depend on the oil. And at the end of the day, how much do you buy petrol? We saw it where even I think a tank was caught yesterday with an adulterated diesel, leaving one state to another. Now, we really appreciated the custom for being able to intercept such a person that is actually doing that. But how many more are we ready to record? Looking at the fact that inflation is here, it's not just coming today. It has been with us for quite a number of time. But it's really sad that we're going from just 17 in July to August, which is about 20 point something. And then presently we're in September. So we're just waiting for another statistics to come out in September. And we are not ready to take steps towards that. Then we are ready to keep going higher and higher and higher. And we know the effect, especially to the poor man, because at the end of the day, they are the receiving end. I saw this forthcoming laws, I won't lie to you. Immediately we started the primaries, where we saw dollar flying left, right, and center. I knew something was going to happen, because that is a devaluation to our naira. And if you devalue the naira, that is the end result. At the end of the day, we'll definitely have inflation coming, and it has come to stay. So I just hope that we'll look at steps, because this is just one out of the many effects that this inflation will have on us, because there will be more poverty at the end of the day. The poor will keep getting poorer, and the rich will keep getting richer. Whether we like it or not, Lois, the campaign is by the corner, so you could know what you actually expect at the end of the day in issues like this.
It's just funny that the poor will keep getting poorer while the rich will keep getting richer. And, you know, until we get to the understanding that people need to benefit from what we have in this country. We talk about inflation, we talk about the oil being one of the issues why we even have the inflation in the first place. You know, why is it that in Nigeria we don't value what we produce in the country? We were discussing earlier with some people, and they say you go outside and buy toothpick from another country, something that is made in Nigeria, we don't value it. When they produce things in Nigeria, they will even write made in China. Why? Because we don't value what we have in this country. We have all it takes, like you said. Saudi Arabia, a desert. Look at Dubai, that people go every now and then, spending money up and down. Especially Nigerians, they will go there and spend all the money that they are saying we don't have. Yes, country. And enriching the country. Look at that kind of country. While we have the soil, we have the resources, we have everything that it takes for this country to grow, for it to boom, and people should enjoy living in Nigeria. But every other day, Nigeria keeps happening to Nigerians. Why? We have to. There are things that need to be done in all of these things. People are not even being encouraged. We have the innocent motors that are producing cars in Nigeria, but how many people will go and get it? We prefer to buy Toyota, Honda, and Peugeot, and the rest of them. We want to buy all those cars, but then Nigeria needs to take a turn. You know, we're talking of general elections coming next year, and all of these things happening. Like you said, campaigns are coming up, and more people will get poorer, because at the end of the day, they will bring 500 and share to people, because they know that people are hungry, that they need 500 naira to survive that day. And at the end of the day, they will go and do cast to anybody that will not even take this country anywhere, and all of us will still wallow and suffer and at the end of the day. So it's really needed that we should know what we are doing. I will keep telling people that 2023 is not a year for us to joke about this election. We need to do what we are supposed to do, because we are clamoring for a new Nigeria. We are clamoring for things to go right, and if we don't do the right things, nothing will happen, Tele.
Of course, Lloyd, I'd like us to look at the statistics that actually took the highest when looking at the inflation, especially looking at the food prices and also the transport costs, because that is one of the things that have actually led to the inflation. And we see for food inflation, the closely watched indicator food inflation rose to 23.12% in August 2022, representing 1.1% point increase compared to 22.02% recorded in the previous month. On a month-on-month basis, the food inflation rate in July rose at 1.98%. That is 0.07% lower than the 2.04% recorded in the previous month, which I rightly stated from July. And then we see, according to the NBS, the rise in the food inflation was caused by increase in food prices of bread and cereal, food product, potatoes, yam, and other tuber, fish, meat, oil, and fat. Now, let's take a look at bread and cereal. Recently, the bakers were threatening to go on strike. Why? Because they said...
They went. It's not like they went.
They went on strike. But I think maybe as a result of pity, the poor man, because you know that most poor people, especially when you look at big bricklayers and other people, you could just go for a bread of 200 or 100 alloys and take it down with maybe a bottle of soda, whatever it is, and you're satisfied to move for the day. But how many people can afford bread presently? I was shocked when the federal government was saying that as a result of the Russia-Ukraine crisis, we can no longer get wheat. And I was so disappointed, because we have the atmosphere that is needed to have this wheat planted. Imagine something like maize that we can have here. We still import them. Talk about yam, talk about egg, talk about all this fat, and you begin to wonder, when we have all that it takes to process all these things, why don't we look into doing that? We have soya in the country. Recently, Nigeria is looking at cashew exportation. We have oil that is also, gotten from cashew. What are we planning to do about all these things? Because the only way we can get out of inflation, Lois, is for us to go into investing. We need to invest in all that we have. We saw oil being the highest in Africa with cotton. What are we planning to do about cotton? Talking about cloth production and other things, you can use cotton for at the end of the day. We saw Lagos leading, when you're talking about commercialization, Kanu and all that. Those are, great markets that you want to associate yourself with. But what are we doing to utilize all these things? Take a look at the various states in the country that produce various places. For example, Niger and the rest that actually produce yam. What are we planning to do about yam flour, doing something about it? You come down to the plateau, we have so many potato, vegetables and all that. What are we planning to do to utilize that so that we can get out of inflation? We are not doing anything about this. I mean, because it's very sad. When we had the first, when the war started with Russia, Ukraine, we're excited that countries like Nigeria, we can actually say, yes, right now, we're going to be cashing out, permit me to use that word, when it comes to the oil. But presently, are we cashing out? We're excited that Nigeria will gain from it, but are we gaining from it?
Reverse is the case, Ella.
Reverse is the case presently, because we have not realized, we have not calmed down, because I look presently, people are looking at their personal interests. Just like I say, campaigning, and you rightly stated, we see money going around in circulation. But is money in circulation really? Because people have come out to say that CBN have been giving out money.
Money will be in circulation because of the need they have for it. But when the masses are there, hungry, people are sleeping without food, nobody goes to give them food to eat. Nobody goes to give them 500 naira because they don't see the need of giving them such money. But when campaigns start, you start seeing money in circulation. So all these things we just keep saying, Nigeria does not have any business with being poor and being frustrated. We don't have any business with that, because we have all it takes to be comfortable. Why should we? when you look at the years before now, during our parents, during their times when they enjoyed education, good education, when they were not paying school fees, how was it done? Was there oil that time? We talk about agriculture that was booming, the cotton, the cocoa, and all that. We had it in excess. We could even export, and then there was money in the country that people could go to school without even paying school fees, without paying transportation. They pay for your fees, they pay for your books, and every other thing. All you need to do is just tell them what you need, and then it's being taken care of. But now that's not the issue. Now students are even at home for over 7
Lloyd,
months.
let me cut you short so I can get our viewers, involved in this conversation because our numbers are displayed on your screen. So we really like you to be actively involved in this conversation. What do you think is the way forward toward this inflation price? Because I think it's not just Lloyd and I that are actually, feeling very sad with the way Nigeria is moving. But I know good many Nigerians actually there. And we also love analysts for you to tell what is the effect of this on Nigerians' economy. What is the way forward for us to actually get out of inflation? Because I believe it can, because apart from the inflation, it's actually lead to recession presently. So we really love you to call us, and then you can be part of the conversation. And also drop your comment on our official Facebook or YouTube pages, and we'll read it real time. Yeah, Lois, you were actually, talking about something important about the inflation.
I think something went wrong at wherever, maybe the drawing board, or as we were going on in this country, because I can't imagine a country that was doing all of these things, that was saying the school fees, that was tuition was free, transportation, your books and everything, to a country that we have students at home for 7 months and we're still counting. We're not even seeing light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, so we have a caller. Hello, David from Warri. Good evening. Hello, David. If you can hear me, go on, please.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Speak up, David. We can hear you.
Okay, you can actually call us back again, David. We'd really love to hear what you have to say concerning the topic being discussed. Lois, please, let's go in.
So we have to start prioritizing our homemade products that we make in this country. Sometimes you go to the market and then you see things in the market and they will call it Aba made, and then you feel, oh, I'm buying this thing, it's not even up to quality, it's not. But when you look at all those things, at the end of the day, they have nice qualities and they are durable, you can use them. If we buy things, if we consume things that are being manufactured in this country, at least we will reduce some of this imports that we do from other countries. We will eat what we have.
We have another call. Hello, Gimba from Kaduna. Good evening.
Hello?
We can hear you. Go on, please.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Say?
Go on, please.
Hello?
Mr. Gimba, can you step away from your TV
Hello?
set?
Hello?
Okay, I think I have to end that call, Mr. Gimba. Please end the call
Hello?
and call us back again, because it seems you can, we are not actually communicating. You can get to hear it, but we'd love to hear what you have to say about it. And Lois, you're actually very right, because I also asked the same question, where did we get this wrong? I mean, if a country where we depend on cocoa and all that, and it's shocking that with all the, I think the time we went into recession, agriculture was always what bailed us out. So why are we not thinking in that direction? Why have we not focused our attention towards the agricultural sector and see what can we do about that? We're talking about the rubber. Do you know how much we can get out of rubber? Talk about coal and tin mining and all that. You know how much we can discover from that? Recently, someone was telling me about, I think, a ministry here in the Plateau State where the government were being involved in a tin mining. And after, the tin mine, and then it was buried in an office where it was sealed. And then they brought security agency, broke the floor, brought out the tin that was packaged in, and nobody knew that something like that was being preserved in an office like that. And then it was tightly secured, and then people took it off. Now, I was like, jokingly, I shared with the person that was telling me, I said, I wish I was there. I would have actually stolen the back. But, that's not the way forward, the issues. Okay, Gimba's called us back. Hello, Gimba.
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay, I think there's something wrong with the network. You can call us back again, Gimber. And you know, I was like joking, I said, I wish I was there, you know, maybe I could actually benefit from that. But you can see what this thing, and I said, okay, after all this thing that was being discovered, what will be done about that? Are we going to sell it as a state and see how we can lift people that are living in poverty? Recently, we saw a community that is going for free health care for those in the community that cannot afford that. But how many states are willing to go in that direction? Because people do not even have access to free health care. Talk about the Lassa fever, mostly you get it in the grassroots level. Talk about the monkeypox, you find it over there. Why? Because they're not even, you know, enlightened about what it means, how to prevent themselves, what to do. Possibly they just say maybe it's a measles or something, and you begin to take some treatment. Why? Because you can't even afford to go to the hospital. An issue like that. Okay, I think we have another caller. Hello, Mr. Jacob.
The government of Nigeria doesn't seem to care about the suffering the masses are going through. Are you understanding?
Yes.
You can go on.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Mr. Jacob, just go on. We can hear you.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
It's very unfortunate the government of Nigeria doesn't seem to know and understand the suffering the masses of this country are going through. If you go through our market now, you see these little denominations like 5 naira, 10 naira, 20 naira, and 50 naira. Once you go to the market and you find very difficult to change 200 naira, 100 naira to little denomination, that means it's a sign of inflation in the country. Masses are suffering.
True.
That's another sign. Hello?
Yeah, we can, Mr. Jacob, we can hear you. Hello, Mr. Jacob, are you still there? I think I have to end that call. But Mr. Jacob raised a very, very vital point. And you know, even as little as getting keke, you give 100 and there is no change. 200 and there is no change. You give to other, because if you go presently right now, even biscuits, there's no biscuit for 10 naira anymore. If you're getting a biscuit as little as it is, either for 30 naira, 50 naira, 100 naira and above.
So at the end of the day, some of these denominations are going to be useless. Because look at it, just like the biscuit you mentioned, there is no 10 naira biscuit, there's no 5 naira biscuit. At the end of the day, what do you need? I have 5 naira in my bag for so many months that I've not even used. So you can imagine some of these things. At the end of the day, we'll still have more currencies being made, or what is going to happen, because we have seen that the kobo has gone. The coins that we used to have before, they are all gone now. 5 naira is almost useless, 10 naira as well. So at the end of the day, where are we headed as a country?
You know, Lois, you know what, the first time where we printed the 100 naira, I can remember a bit when the 100 naira was first printed. People were actually agitating and saying, this is a sign that we're going somewhere. Let's leave it at just printing that 100 naira to be the highest currency, so that the other denomination can actually have relevance at the end of the day. We went further to producing the 200, the 500. We didn't stop there. We went to 1,000. At a point, we're threatening to go for 5,000 naira notes. Hello, good evening.
Nigeria has been going through consumption. When I say consumption, I mean the country from our forefathers, we are using the natural resources that we have within the country. And all those old people within the country, they are just consuming those things, those natural resources for themselves, their families, and their relatives. Now, Nigeria needs to bring an idea of production. Let them empower the youth, the people, the masses to produce. Look, countries like China and America, you can see children of 15, 20 years, they are producing something on their own, technology. So Nigeria needs technology whereby someone can be able from the secondary school level. You have a skill, you have a technology that you can produce something. But we are always after crude oil, and this crude is not all over within the country. So the mass will suffer it because it's only few people have access to the natural resources. That is my own one contribution.
Thank you so much for that great, beautiful contribution. Actually, you really added meaningfully to this contribution, Lois.
Like I keep saying, this crude oil, just like he said, it's one-sided in the country. But we can have agriculture all over. Even the states that are oil-producing states, I think, okay, why not focus on the fuel? We have a lot of things. That's just the saddest part of the whole story, Sele. We have everything that it takes. Like I said, Nigeria does not have any business in poverty, being in frustration, and all of this. But we've seen that the elites have weaponized poverty on the masses, and at the end of the day we become slaves to them. Or it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. Whenever you think about the issues that are happening in this country, you just tend to not take your emotions from it. But sometimes you just have to be logical. You have to understand some of these things that are happening. And then I said, like, still talking about oil, they said there are softwares that can be used to track. Why is it that Nigeria is not using those softwares? If not because some people are benefiting selfishly from these things, why won't we use these things? And now we're talking about oil theft here and there. Every day you go on the papers, you go on reports, and all of that is oil theft. How to deal with them? It's not a shame on the country.
Let me take this call, Lloyd. Sorry. Hello, Tuba. Good evening. Tuba, if you can hear me, please go on. We can hear you.
Good evening.
I'm listening to you lively. I have a question to ask, ma'am.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, I am asking, is all this rising of prices, can this say one day come down?
Okay, if that's your question. All right, thank you so much. If it can actually go, it can, Lois.
It can, of course.
It can, because
if the right measures are being taken,
of course,
and some of these selfish people being taken care of, I think definitely inflation will go down. We didn't start from there. It started coming up as time goes on. So definitely we can go back to where it started. We should go back to the drawing board and see how these things can be tackled. Because if we don't, I don't know what will become of this country. But God forbid, we want a country that will be together, that it will be called Nigeria, that people will be comfortable, will live their lives, and Nigeria will not keep happening to Nigerians.
And I think, Lloyd, I also want to attempt to answer this question, because I think the first and foremost step I think we need to take is to tackle insecurity. When we tackle insecurity, secondly, we go down to bringing out the names of those that are sponsoring terrorism, those who are behind the oil theft, because I believe they are highly placed people. So regardless of who they are, we should bring out their names. Thirdly, let's move into investing in other sectors. Just like we said, agriculture is one. We have other sectors. Just recently, the federal government is beginning to discover that we can go into sports also. There's something in the sports ministry. Recently, that was when we saw in the paper today that the federal government is giving 200 million naira to those athletes that represented us in the Commonwealth and World Athletics. Another step we can look into the entertainment industry. So much money is there. They have been contributing to the GDP. What is the federal government doing about that ministry? We've been looking at, one of the callers just said, we should look into how we can have other, apart from the schooling, how about some entrepreneurship courses that can be introduced, practical that this student can get involved in, so that when you are not writing on pen and paper, you have something that is keeping your mind working.
That issue of practical is very, very important. I think that's why one of the reasons the striking lecturers are still at home, because of the revitalization they are looking for in the universities.
Okay, let me take this call. Sorry, Lord. Hello, Simon from Warri. Hello, Mr. Simon. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, good evening, madam.
Evening, please go on.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yeah. I'm Mr. Moses calling from Warri.
Okay.
Okay. Like the issue of insecurity, the government needs to tackle those areas. Hello?
We can hear
you. Yeah. Like now, I was traveling to my village 3 days ago. I cannot understand the road the driver takes me to. So, right now, I see myself in another farm road. Until we have to come outside in another essence before I understand where I'm going to. So the road network is very poor. the road network is very poor. They need to do the road network for we to travel our journey successfully. Those are the areas the kidnappers use to attack vehicle on the way. So the insecurity problem is one of those major areas the government needs to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moses, for that contribution. I know it's still talking about it. Most of the road networks are bad, and that has even contributed to food inflation, because you can imagine a truck traveling possibly maybe from Jos down to Asaba, and then possibly the road was bad somewhere linking to Asaba. At the end of the day, possibly maybe the tomatoes got spoiled, because definitely those are perishable goods. When you get there, the remaining that you can salvage, you definitely sell it at a high price, and the consumers have no choice but to pay for the price that they,
because they need to
they need it. You need to consume, you need to eat at the end of the day. So what is the government doing? It's questions everybody's asking. What are they doing? We saw that they said the money that the government has been borrowing, they invested it into road transport, they invested it into places. But Nigerians
even the Abacha loot will be used on road.
And you keep asking, where are the routes? How many of the, even though we saw a little, we saw the train that was being linked from Nigeria to Niger, 1 or 2 places that we can link. But we need the internal networking, because you cannot imagine that I'll be traveling within the state and then road is possibly bad before I can get to one place. Recently, we are seeing that commuters are complaining about the Ibadan Lagos Greek lock. Somebody has been on that Greek lock for over 16 hours. Lois, imagine you're going to the office. Before you get there, you'll be served a sack letter, and then you come back to meet your family without anything. In this inflation, you have no money to give them to feed. You keep getting poor.
You don't have a job to go
You
back
have
to.
no job to go back to. Definitely another thing that this inflation leads to unemployment, because you need to lay off some staff because you can't afford to pay them. As a result of nobody is okay. We have another caller from Delta. Good evening.
Our governor that makes our country, and we want to design a COVID-19, and what we think about something in the heart. Now, just from our governor, because we are talking about things that as every other thing, we are talking about that. So what we want, I want to just let you know, because I want another governor about to change. Let's say that because we are suffering. People are talking about medicine, about food, when you get to market, you can use about 2,000 to market, you can get just the market. So, sometimes when I was sometimes it could be like, we never came up. But we bought something about, but you can use the 2,000 to market and bought a little paper. Now, we get to market now and bought something. The thing you bought, you will not be happy because of the quantity you have. So, this is what we want to let you people that let our governor, or our president, let's say this thing down. By myself, I've already let the military do. Because if the military, everything will go down. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that, very meaningful contribution, So it's really sad, Lois. Lots of things need to be addressed in this country if only we want to move forward. If we want to still, depend on that name that we say we are the giant of Africa. Because presently, from the way things are looking, it seems we are giant by name. But lots of things are not going, because things that keep moving from being bad to worse every day. July, we're on 17. August, we're on 20. September, we don't know what will happen. December, before the end of 2022, what will not happen?
You know how December can be. A lot of things are happening. It's the end of the year. People are trying to plan. The government is trying to plan.
Okay, sorry, we have the call. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on.
The call never entered me. When normally is this program going on TV?
Okay, we
just
go
my
live
take
from
and follow
7
the work
to 8 p.m. on Fridays. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. every Friday. Thank you so much. So I believe that we need to take the right step. We need to be deliberate. I think that is the way forward, because you cannot have a nation that will thrive without having deliberate leaders that are willing to take the bull by the horn. Because a nation cannot just change in a day. There's always hope for Nigeria. I believe that, and I know we all believe that there's hope for Nigeria. But we need to take deliberate steps. because your nation cannot change, a nation cannot bring out good results if we don't make deliberate steps, because this inflation definitely is here with us. But then we have a part to play, not just depending on the government. We have a part to play. On our own part, what can we do? We need to stop destroying of properties, because I believe is another way. Stop destroying goods, because we are still looking at how we can produce while we are suffering on production. We have to preserve the little that we have left. And I think also looking at investing, I will not stop saying this. We need to invest in the right direction and stop borrowing a lot, because the interest rate is really crazy. And I believe that we know what to do.
You know, the issue of inflation is not just in Nigeria. Other countries are battling with it. But the fact that other countries...
Okay, sorry, Lois, before you say that, we have the last caller for today. Hello, good evening. Please, if you can hear me, go on. Okay, Lois, please just go on with your points.
There are many other countries outside that are still battling the issue of inflation. But then Nigeria's own shouldn't be the bad amongst others. We should, even if we're calling inflation rise and it's worsening and all of that, but there should be some measures that are being put in place to see how these things will decrease. Like one of the callers said, when will this thing go down? So these are some of the things we want to see the government and the right authorities doing, that some of these things are being tackled. We always talk about production, but at the end of the day, we don't even see anything going on. Even if it will go on, it will just be amongst a secluded region. One part of the country is enjoying it, while many other parts are just there wallowing. So we need all these things spread out across 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory of the country. We want to see changes. We want to see things happening. All sectors, ministries, everything should go on. They should operate as it's supposed to be. And people that are supposed to checkmate these things should do their jobs. And I think the Constitution, we don't even take it really serious as far as I'm concerned, because when the people are being exposed, said they've looted, at the end of the day, you don't see anything happening to you. You hear court proceedings that are ongoing, and then at the end of the day, nothing is being done. You don't see those things happening, stopping. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a different thing for you to reveal needs. It's a different thing for the act to stop happening. So we need some of these things to happen. When people's names are being revealed, when they are brought in by the DSS or the ICPC or the AFCC, whatever body that brings them in, when they are found guilty, they should face the full wrath of the law, which the legal bindings or whatever it is that should be taken should take its course, and then things should be done rightly. And I'll keep telling Nigerians, 2023, we should not joke with it at all. Of
course, we should not, joke with it. Well, we are having 1.1 million Nigerians that their voters card is illegal, so we just have about
that's
one. That's another issue for another day. Well, thank you, Lois, for doing this with me. Thank you to all our callers. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you so much for the crew members for making this program a success. And thank you to everyone. Until we come away again, do have a blessed weekend.